Hello, everyone, and welcome to this first session of the year in the series I'm a Member Now What? And today we're going to talk about help and support at ORCID. My name is Paloma Marina Raiza. I work as engagement manager for Global Consortia and will be together with you today in this webinar. First of all, some of you might be new to ORCID. Others might have been members for a while already, but we want to make sure you remember ORCID's mission, which is to enable transparent and trustworthy connections between researchers, their contributions, and their affiliations by providing a unique persistent identifier for individuals to use as they engage in research, scholarship, and innovation activities. We've been doing this since 2012. And please always remember that these persistent identifier and these trustworthy connections are not only for researchers, but also for people related to research, like other contributors. So what are we covering in this session today? First of all, we will provide you with an overview of the general support and resources you have at ORCID. Then we will separate specific support for consortia members and for direct members, and then some ideas about integrating with ORCID and product information. We will have time for question and answers at the end of the session, so please use the Q&A box if you would like your question to be answered. And also thank you very much for those of you that have submitted questions in advance, and I hope this session covers everything that you already asked. Let's begin with the part about the support and resources. So finding answers, feedback, and exchange in our community resources is the best way to start. We have basically two very good platforms. The first one is Friends of ORCID, which is a Slack channel in which you could interact with other member organizations. You can also provide and get feedback and also get information. And there we have a general channel where you can basically interact with the community. And also we have channels about events and also about product updates. On the other hand, we have the Help Center that was revamped last year to have a more user-friendly interaction, and there you can access information and frequently asked questions about technical and non-technical aspects, and basically with a focus on users' requests. So for example, imagine someone in your organization is asking how to merge two ORCID IDs because they have a duplicate. You will find the answer there. Or you're wondering what exactly are the metadata in a specific section, you will have the answer there as well. Please also note that the support center or help center can be translated into several languages. So you will find answers not only in English, but also probably in your language as well. If you would like to get more details about technical implementations, we recommend you to check our technical documentation, where you can learn more about features, workflows, and in general lines integrations. From there, you can also go to our GitHub and get a bit more of API technical resources. On the other hand, we have the API user group. Regardless if you're using the member API or the public API for your integration, there you will be able to interact with others, ask questions, and also get technical updates. For example, time down or other aspects that might be of interest for you. For sure, don't miss our newsletter or Member Connect. This is our monthly newsletter for members. You should be receiving it if you're already a member. If you are not receiving it and you're a member, please get in touch with us so that we can add you to the newsletter. And you will find the main ORCID news from that month, technical announcements, upcoming releases and improvements, also staff updates, and much more. So don't miss it, and you will be able to get this information as well. Now let's go to the direct support example. So first of all, let's cover how is getting support as a consortium member. As you know, if you're a consortium member, you will have some contact directly with your consortium lead, the lead organization of your national consortium. So first of all, send your consortium lead your contact details for ORCID's internal setup. Get also familiar with the member portal and the documentation. We will have a separate session on the member portal so that you get all the information about what's there and how you can access information, manage your accounts, and also access other tools from the member portal. And also, with your consortium lead, get an onboarding call to discuss several aspects. For example, general questions you might have about how to use ORCID in your institution, communication plans, plans with ORCID, how you plan to use tools or integrate with the API, etc. And also get to know the resources that are available for you as part of your consortium. Know that you can always establish a regular exchange with your consortium lead. And basically what this is going to be is some regular exchanges with your consortium lead via calls or emails. In these interactions, you can always share information about your integration and discuss with your consortium lead about next steps. ORCID and the corresponding consortium lead have an escalation process. So if the consortium lead needs to escalate some details, they will be able to do so. You can also work together with other consortium members to find solutions, and then you definitely can participate in consortium events organized by your consortium and in community calls. Together with that, the ORCID team works regularly with the consortium lead to guarantee that actually this support that they provide to you is adequate and you have all the resources available. For that, what we do is, first of all, we have some training sessions with the consortium lead organization. We also have regular exchange with them, and we have established workflows for support and escalation of issues. And last but not least, we also have a group for consortia leads just to discuss different aspects that might affect members and support, and also other events for them to be able to support you in your journey, so to say, as ORCID members. How is the technical support divided? So when you become a consortium member, what are the responsibilities of the consortium lead and what are the responsibilities of ORCID? The consortium lead should be able to answer the basic questions from you in general, and then they will escalate complex questions to ORCID. Also, they will be able to work with you to monitor different aspects of your integrations and also updates to existing integrations. And of course, they will help you with general ORCID best practices. When it comes to ORCID, the ORCID team, we will indicate the relevant resources for the consortium. And also we will be the ones in charge for registering and providing API credentials. Remember that when we provide production API credentials, we need always to use encrypted messages. So please, when you are in that phase, let us also know. We will definitely help with complex API errors. So those errors that aren't already documented and might not be very, very clear for the consortium member. We keep our technical documentation always updated, and we also have dedicated staff for this complex technical support. We work, as mentioned, always together with the consortium lead. On the other hand, we have direct members as well, so members that aren't part of a consortium. In this case, your engagement lead is your point of contact for all ORCID-related activities. And what you need to do is a similar process, but in this case, directly with the engagement lead. So you should inform your engagement lead about your contact details so that the internal setup can be finished. The same way, you should get familiar with the member portal and the documentation and get an onboarding call with your engagement lead to discuss general questions, communication plans, precise plans with ORCID, and the resources that are going to be available for you, depending on your integration plans and communication plans. Both as a direct member and as a consortium member, our team will be there to support you. Specifically, when it comes to technical questions, we have a group of member support technical specialists, and they will help you with the sandbox and production credentials. So the sandbox, the credentials for the test environment, and production, the credentials for the live environment, and also all the things related to those credentials. If you need to update an address, or if you need to change the name that is displayed on the user interface, etc. They will help you or assist your consortium lead when reviewing custom integrations and answer institutional sign-in questions. And of course, as mentioned, support you with complex API errors and API-related technical questions, precisely when they aren't documented already in our documentation. So to summarize how you can get in touch and get support and help from ORCID, let's begin with the situation and then what should be your main point of contact. So if you are a consortium member, get in touch with your consortium lead first of all. They are definitely willing to help, and if they have some questions, they will escalate them to us. However, if you are a direct member, you get in touch with your ORCID consortium lead first of all. For user-related questions, go first of all to the help center. You can find the help center here in support.orcid.org. And as mentioned, you can also choose the language you would like the content to be displayed. For issues with your integrations that are related to the ORCID API, so errors in the API, maybe messages that you aren't understanding, or some connections, timeouts, and so on, then you can contact member support at orcid.org, and always together with your main point of contact. So never use member support alone. Please copy always your consortium leads or your engagement lead at ORCID. And for issues related with your integrations that are part of the vendor system, like configurations or display errors, etc., then contact your vendor system in the first place, because sometimes those issues aren't related to the ORCID API precisely. Let's cover now a brief overview about integrating with ORCID. We will have two separate sessions on this topic, one for custom integrations and one for integrations that are using other systems, like a certified service provider or the affiliation manager. When we are speaking about integrations with ORCID, we always need to remember that integrations consist of three parts. Sometimes when we speak about integrations, we think of the technical part exclusively, but we forget the whole context. So we need a plan for that integration, then the technical part per se using the API, and then the launch phase. Normally, institutions take longer in the planning phase because they need to know exactly which part of the institution are going to be involved. They need to define roles, and they also need to take some actions and priorities. This is kind of a project timeline. So during that process or that timeline, we recommend you to be in or begin some engagement with your community, with your researcher, staff, students, awardees, grantees, etc., to prepare them for the launch of your integration so that you have a correct communication plan. And when you launch your integration, they actually engage with that integration and you get enough or you maximize, better say, the organizational adoption. Of course, the ORCID team and or your consortium lead will be able to help you with these communication steps and also this planning phase. When it comes precisely to the integration, there are 3 ways of doing it. As mentioned, we will cover them in separate sessions, but it is fine to have a bit of an overview here. You can use an existing certified service provider, for example, DSpace CRIS, OGS, Symplectic Elements, etc. Those systems already have ORCID capabilities that have been checked by the ORCID team, and they fulfill ORCID best practices. Also, if you work with a service provider that isn't certified, get in touch with us because we will be more than happy to contact them and analyze potential best practices. The second option will be that you develop a custom integration. This is an integration started, so to say, from scratch, particularly for those organizations that have self-developed institutional systems and aren't using an existing service provider like DSpace CRIS or OGS or others. And finally, if you're a consortium member, you can also adopt the Affiliation Manager, which is a tool in which you don't require any type of technical or IT knowledge, and you will work directly with a CSV file and you will upload that into the member portal. As mentioned, discuss also with your consortium lead and or the ORCID team if you would like to use the Affiliation Manager and if you need some strategies. We will also have a session later in the year about the Affiliation Manager, but in the meantime, you can check the existing documentation about it as well. Let's cover now product and how our product team works in terms of helping our community and also understanding the community needs when it comes to new developments, additions, or updates in the existing product. So the product team is responsible for the ongoing evolution of ORCID services. And together with the community, so together with you, we define the features that we provide and also how we build them in the existing services and elements. So we make sure for sure that the development is aligned with the strategic goals of ORCID, also that the services are valued by the stakeholders, the community in general, so that what we offered is valued by members, is valued by researchers, and then also that everything is together with the ORCID mission and consistent with values, the ORCID values of open, trust, and inclusiveness. But let's go a bit more in detail. What's exactly the product at ORCID? So the services that we offer to researchers, members, and third-party integrators, and anything that faces the end user, so the researchers, is considered part of the product at ORCID. This includes the ORCID registry, you're more than familiar with, the process of authentication, oath, the user interface, and also the API. The member portal that I was mentioning before, including all the reports, tools to manage your information, and also the Affiliation Manager. Remember that we will have a separate session on the member portal. That will be the next session we will have. Also, the data files that we provide to our community, like the public data file, and every single notification mechanisms, like the API notifications or the email to researchers. And finally, but not least important, the product documentation, all this documentation about workflows, best practices, etc., that I was mentioning before. You can always check the product roadmap. We use Trello, and here you can see what is planned, what is in progress, and what is completed, so that you can have an overview what ORCID is planning for the community. And it is also important to consider how all those features are developed, because sometimes we might have requests from the community and feedback from the community, how we actually develop those features and how we prioritize the different aspects in order for them to be included into the product. So we basically balance the needs of everyone when designing new features or improving the existing ones. With that, we work across the organization, so not only existing members and researchers, but also internally, to build the right solutions to the right problems. And of course, as mentioned, prioritize this development. We design the user interfaces, journeys, and workflows that help get the maximum value out of the ORCID registry. So we here cover requirements, we specify changes to the registry, we manage all the product lifecycle, and also we measure the impact that changes might have on the community. For that, we work with what we call an agile working process, which is, instead of having a large task, we break the work into small pieces, and we use Scrum in order to cover those pieces. So in other words, so to say, we have small improvements every 3 weeks, what are our sprints, so that at the end of the year, at the end of the semester, at the end of the quarter, we can basically have a larger goal accomplished. If you check part of the information, for example, the feature Friday, which is always available in our news at ORCID, you will see part of those sprints and how we are covering new features and new improvements as part of this process. We try always to set realistic goals and avoid deadlines. This is why sometimes when our community asks us for an improvement or request some changes, we consider that, but we can't provide a precise timeline for that to be accomplished. So we basically, in general lines, prevent deadlines because they tend to be counterproductive and they might lead to poor quality services. So you might be wondering, okay, this is fine, but how can we actually work with you, with ORCID, together so that we can improve all these services or adapt them as needed, and also pass our community feedback? So we always work with the community to understand the needs to make ORCID easier to use. And it is for us super important to understand your needs and also get your help, because we want to solve the problems that the community, researchers, and member organizations actually have, and not the problems we think they might have or you might have. For that, what we apply is the following aspect: is tell us the problem that you have, and we will find a potential solution for it. Sometimes the solution might be already there. We only need to explain it to you. And in other cases, we might need to actually develop a solution for that problem. So how can you tell us the problem? Where are the channels? where you can discuss those problems with us. Of course, if you're a consortium member, conversations with your consortium lead. Then your consortium lead, as mentioned, will escalate all that to us. If you're a consortium lead, you can also use the consortium interest group to share this with the ORCID team, apart from the normal conversations you will have with the team. If you are a direct member, you can talk directly to your engagement lead, who will actually escalate these requests as needed. And we also have product webinars, product feedback surveys, and product workshops in which you will be able to share that feedback as well. Also remember that you have the Friends of ORCID Slack channel, and there you can also share your questions, concerns, situation, best practices, approaches, etc. We have this Trello board as well, which is our community feedback board, and there you can see different feedback that we have received from the community, particularly the ones that are classified as under consideration or planned. Then, of course, we also have the not now or not feasible, and you will also find a reason there why we can't add that to our considerations. If you go to the planned section, you will find things that we would love to get done at some point, but we can't provide a precise timeline for it, as mentioned a couple of slides ago. And we always try to understand and evaluate all the requirements before we start building the solution. So with questions like who does it help, what does it do, and why do they want it? So why does the community want it? And then we analyze or examine the projected impact, the effort required, and the strategic fit in order to get that done. For this prioritization and to understand the development, we have a set of questions that we try to answer internally before we start developing or proposing something to be developed. Questions in these sets are, for example, how many users will find the work useful, or how much value will they derive? Also, how feasible is to build that, that feature or to implement that change, and other aspects related to adoption, interoperability, a commitment from external parties that are beyond ORCID, community readiness for this new feature, and also ORCID value alignment, for example. With that, I finished this session, and I would like to thank you very much for your attention. Please don't hesitate to ask questions in the Q&A. I've seen that there are a couple that I will address right now. And for sure, engage with us, and don't hesitate to ask questions in general or use the different support channels if you are facing any challenge or if you have any question about how we operate. Here is a question: how can we receive an invitation for this Slack channel? So then you can, of course, write a message to support@orcid.org or member support. You can use this one. I'm typing in the chat, or this one, indicating your name and your institution, and we will invite you to the Slack channel. Are there any key benefits of being a member we can advertise? Sure. Depending on the type of organization you are, for example, if you are a university or a research institution, if you are a funder, if you are a government entity, you will find different pages on ORCID, on info.orcid.org, with detailed information for each type of organization about the benefits and what can be done. In general lines, for staff, students, researchers, and if you're a funder, grantees, you will have the main benefit is the possibility to interact with the ORCID records, which at the end is going to save them time and reduce the admin burden. And for the organization per se, will be the possibility again to interact with the API, gather data, and also increase the visibility of the organization or the organization activities. But what I definitely recommend is to use those pages that are available in info.orcid.org. We're happy to share that also in the follow-up email you will receive with the recording and slides of this session. There is a question here: why non-consortium members do not have access to the affiliation manager? What is the policy around that decision? The affiliation manager was considered to be a benefit for consortium members, and we actually implemented that for them, considering that at the moment about 77% of ORCID members are consortium members, and also to motivate new consortia to be formed. And we have different ways of supporting organizations that would like to form a consortium or join an existing one. So that's basically the decision around that. Here there is another question: as a direct member, how do I know who is our engagement lead? That's a very good question. Actually, the person you talked to when you initiated your membership, that should be your engagement lead. So depending on the country, right now your engagement lead might be either Stel Shen or Nabil Ksibi or Shiv Naidu. So you have one of these three possibilities probably. And yeah, so you should know that because that is the person your organization talked to when becoming an ORCID member. That's your engagement lead. I hope this helped. And if not, please, again, use the member support at orcid.org email or the support at orcid.org, and we will provide you with the corresponding contact person. There is another question here: how can one identify co-member for interaction? I am not sure if I understand this question correctly. Probably what you're referring to is the fact or identifying another institution that is having a similar problem that you have, or is using the API in a similar way that you're using it. For that, what we recommend is either that you join the API user group, and there you can also check. The API user group link is one of the links included in the slides, so you will get the slides after the session and you will be able to go there and check it. And there you can also send the question to the community. You can also use the Friends of ORCID Slack channel if you wish, or in the coming months, we are going to start a series of sessions, because they are not going to be webinars, called member mixers. And there we are going to mix some members based on integration plans, based on tools they are using, based on communication details that they will need, so that you can also exchange information with each other. I hope this answered the question, but if not, please send a follow-up if needed. So I think with that, there aren't any further questions in the chat or in the Q&A. We still have time for a couple of questions if you wish. But of course, if not, you can always send them as follow-ups to the email containing the recording and the slides. And also you can add them in the survey that you will be prompted with after this session. I've also activated here some resources that you can download, and you will be able to use them and check them. And again, I thank you all very much for your time and participation today. I hope this session was useful, and please don't miss the following ones that are related to the member portal, also to integrations and the affiliation manager and communication about ORCID. Thank you very much again for your support and your participation today. And I hope to see you soon in coming sessions as well.